Welcome to the DCTV News at Noon program. I'm Kelsey Kiesling.
And I'm Kendra Cook. The Southwest TV Translator Association underwrites the news, and Dolores County Broadcasting Network provides the support for DCTV.
Here at the News at Noon show, we assemble the best and most interesting news from the area, and Jerry Tope brings you the local weather and related news. Give us a call with news tips or topics you'd like to see covered. The number is 677-4119.
We are glad you tuned in to watch DCTV. Today's show is live on Tuesday at noon and rebroadcast at 3 and 6 p.m. and again re-aired on Friday noon at 3 and 6.
Coming up, Lower Dolores boating comes early, tiny home zoning, BLM rule removed, and more.
And also another Cortez fire, hate crimes transparency bill, and the Collaboration Fest. With weather, the sheriff's report, and area happenings, today is March 28th, 2017, and now the news at noon. Boating season starts early, according to a report in the Cortez Journal. A boating release on the Dolores River below McPhee Dam will begin earlier than expected, water managers announced on Monday. A warm March has started the runoff early into McPhee Reservoir, which is nearly full. Therefore, managers will begin releasing excess water below the dam this week. Flows will begin ramping up on Wednesday, March 29th, and reach 800 cubic feet per second by Friday, March 31st. By Saturday, April 1st, flows will reach 1,200 CFS. Ken Curtis, an engineer with the Dolores Water Conservancy District, reported that a sunny, warm March released runoff early, and recent storms have continued to increase snowpack in the mountains. The reservoir will fill this year, and all farmers will receive their full allocation, he said. The Dolores River Basin received above normal snowpack this winter. Recent record warm days translated into an isothermal snowpack across Colorado that is all poised to start melting. Although there was some warning, it became very apparent last week that the runoff was coming in much higher and sooner than normal, Curtis said. The recent storms and cloud cover has steadied the inflow, but irrigation has not started, and McPhee continues to rise. Storms are possible for another 10 to 14 days. The cooler weather will only slow the rising runoff, not stop the inflow. Flows below the dam are expected to reach 2,000 CFS next week, and managers still intend to release a 4,000 CFS later in the spring. The next update will be posted on Monday, April 3rd at DoloresWater.com under the Releases tab, and also go to the Dolores River Boating Advocates website at DoloresRiverBoating.org for information on the whitewater release. Specific river notices are as follows. Dove Creek Pump House Road. They ask that you please be careful of heavy traffic in and out of the Dove Creek Pump's launch site. The road narrows and trucks with trailers cannot pass each other at certain points. Consideration of others and patience are appreciated here. At Slick Rock, Dolores River Boating Advocates are working to coordinate the takeout at Slick Rock. Both locations are on private property, so please respect all rules to keep them open for the future. And regarding the Bedrock Bridge, the Colorado Department of Transportation cautions river users who plan to recreate near Bedrock that a temporary low bridge is in place, allowing only limited river clearance. Beginning in mid-April, boaters will encounter up to half-hour river closures in that short section to accommodate heavy equipment activity during construction of the new Colorado Highway 90 bridge.
Reported by the Cortez Journal, firefighters from 3 agencies contained a fire early Sunday at the HARP Moving and Storage Building in Cortez. Assistant Fire Chief Sean Biddle said Monday. It was a team effort, Biddle said. The Cortez, Dolores, and Lewis Areola firefighters worked really well together. About 20 firefighters from the 3 departments responded about 4:21 a.m. to the fire at 127 North Market Street, Biddle said. Police reported the fire. Crews found heavy fire on the building's southwest corner and kept it from spreading, he said. The fire caused heat and water damage throughout the building, but most of it remained structurally sound. A truck on the property also was damaged. Biddle said the cause of the fire was under investigation as of 11 a.m. Monday. A monetary estimate of the damage had not been finalized, he said.
Reported by the Cortez Journal, road construction on Colorado Highway 41, which is located in southwest Montezuma County near the Four Corners Monument, will begin April 3rd and last until May 24th, according to a Colorado Department of Transportation press release. CDOT will work with contractor Old Castle Southwest Group, Inc. Four Corners Materials for this surface treatment project, which includes chip sealing on the highway. The 2-month project will extend from Colorado 41's junction with U.S. Highway 160 and continue on Colorado 41 for about 9.5 miles northwest to the Utah state line. Construction activity will include an asphalt leveling course followed by a double chip seal surface treatment of the roadway. The highway will receive fresh striping. New guardrails will also be installed in some areas along Colorado 41. The project is expected to be completed before Memorial Day weekend at the end of May. Drivers will encounter single-lane alternating traffic through the work zone. Traffic will be controlled with flaggers and a pilot lead vehicle. Drivers should expect 15-minute delays, and oversized loads may encounter additional delays. Work will be done Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Motorists are advised to adhere to posted speed limits and cautioned that speed reductions will be in place at times throughout the work zone. Construction crews will not work on the Colorado 41 roadway on May 5th to allow the public to participate in the Four Corners Walk from Aneth, Utah to the Four Corners Monument. For more information, contact the project hotline at 880-0590, and to see CDOT's lanes closures reports for projects statewide, visit codot.gov.
Reported by the Cortez Journal, Colorado lawmakers took a step toward encouraging transparency in reporting hate crimes on Monday. House Bill 1138 would require the Department of Public Safety to give a yearly presentation before the legislature detailing the number and locations of bias-motivated crimes reported across Colorado. It was passed by the Senate Judiciary Committee unanimously after limited testimony and no opposition. Senator Angela Williams, Democrat of Denver, the bill's sponsor, said the HB 1138 is an effort to evaluate whether trends exist in the preparation of hate crimes or perpetration of hate crimes and ensure the legislature knows the location and frequency of these crimes. Included in those who supported the bill was Jeremy Shaver, a representative of the Anti-Defamation League, who brought up the hate crime statistics collected by the FBI in 2014 and 2015. In 2014, the FBI documented 5,479 hate crimes reported by 15,494 agencies across the nation. In 2015, the number of crimes increased by 7% to 5,850, despite there being a decrease in the number of reporting agencies down to 14,997. In Durango and La Plata County, the statistics for reported hate crimes showed an opposite trend, with 6 being reported in 2014 and 3 in 2015. Shaver said the connection between fewer agencies reporting and the increased number of incidents is concerning, as are inconsistencies in the reporting. According to Shaver, there is no process to determine if the reporting for these areas is accurate. That was something the original version of HB 1138 hoped to remedy by requiring the accuracy of the reporting be verified by the state justice officials, but this would have required an increase expenditure from the state and was stripped by the sponsor of the bill because the state lacks funds. Despite this, sponsors and the Anti-Defamation League believe the bill is a step toward ensuring accuracy in reporting of bias-motivated crimes.
From the Grand Junction Daily Sentinel, President Trump delivered the final blow Monday to a new Bureau of Land Management planning rule backed by conservationists but panned by critics, including some western Colorado counties. Trump signed a congressional resolution to undo what was known as the BLM's Planning 2.0 rule, which was developed under the Obama administration and designed to update decades-old planning regulations for developing local resource management plans. The agency had promoted the rule as a way to streamline the process for creating such plans, get more public collaboration and input, and adopt more of a landscape-level planning approach. But it prompted concerns among counties, including Mesa County. Neighboring Garfield County even joined 5 other western counties and a soil conservation district in suing to challenge it, arguing in part that it shifts decision-making authority to Washington, D.C. Groups such as Conservation Colorado and the National Wildlife Federation have praised the planning rule for replacing an outdated process, making it more open to the public and taking a bigger picture approach that can consider things such as wildlife mitigation routes and cross-jurisdictional wildfire threats. Garfield Commissioner Tom Jankowski said the measure was conservation-centric and ate into the multi-purpose approach to BLM land management. He said it diluted the requirement that the BLM coordinate with local governments to ensure its plans are consistent with local government plans, and put the burden for ensuring that consistency occurs on the local governments rather than the BLM. Congress revoked the rule using the Congressional Review Act, a 1996 law under which Congress can repeal new federal rules and prevent substantially similar ones from being issued in the future. Supporters of the planning rules revocation included U.S. Representative Scott Tipton, Republican from Colorado, and U.S. Senator Cory Gardner, Republican also from Colorado. U.S. Senator Michael Bennet, a Democrat from Colorado, had voted against revoking it. Gardner has said he heard from western Colorado counties worried that the new rule gave them less say over local public lands than people not living near those lands. In a news release, Tipton called Trump's signing of the measure an important victory for the West. The final BLM Planning 2.0 rule diminished the role that state and local governments, whose communities are most directly impacted, have historically played in the land management planning process. Important land management decisions should be made by the people who know the land the best, not unelected Washington bureaucrats, he said. Jankowski said while the long-standing BLM rules are better than Planning 2.0, they still aren't ideal, and there needs to be a means worked out for local governments to be involved in decision-making and for their voices to be heard, considering how important public lands are to local economies.
According to the Cortez Journal, the stigma and intrigue of murder houses make them common backdrops for cheap television and a trap for tourists. But selling so-called stigmatized houses, where a death, particularly a violent one, occurred, is a different story. House hunters typically seek information such as details about environmental and structural problems about a house's backstory before making a purchase. But for some, the eerier details of a house's history can play a role in whether they close the deal. From an agent's perspective, there is a lot more preparation for those discussions than the discussions actually present themselves, said local real estate agent Joe Clare. By the time a buyer gets to a house where something occurred in this day and age, it's so well known through news publications and people talking, it no longer catches people off guard. Real estate agent Rick Lorenz said he has never fielded a question from a client about in-house deaths, though he did sell a house in the El Rancho, Florida district where a murder occurred. Colorado Real Estate Commission statute does not require agents to disclose a property's death-related details, but Lorenz said he did anyway because his client wanted the fact known and the buyer wasn't deterred. Most states don't require real estate agents to disclose dark details that might daunt the superstitious. DiedInHouse.com provides that information. By providing a home address, the site can generate information about the property that is available through public records, including if a death occurred there, who died and when, cause of death, names of previous owners, whether the house endured a fire, and other unsavory details, including whether sex offenders or meth cookers resided there. The website was created in 2013 as an aid for homebuyers whose state laws might not readily offer up that information. Founder and co-CEO Roy Condrey said the site has had more than 95,000 users since its launch. And now here's our weather report.
The National Weather Service in Grand Junction says that they're getting reports of snow at elevations above 7,500 feet. The general direction of the snow is moving from the south to the north. The storm system has a center now just getting into New Mexico, and this will keep southerly moisture over our region through the day and until about midnight. 6 to 12 inches of snow is hoped for above 8,000 foot level in the central Colorado mountains, so a winter weather advisory is in place. Today will be windy at speeds reaching 20 to 25 miles per hour this afternoon with gusts near 40. This evening, rain at lower elevations will taper off and end by about midnight or 12 p.m., but gusts will reach 45 miles per hour during the night. Wednesday will see a drop in gusts to only 35, so you'll still have to hang on to your hat because the sun will mostly shine, as it will on Thursday as well. Thursday evening, the next round of rain and snow will arrive from the north and therefore be colder. So at about 4 a.m. it will become snow, and if not before that time. Snow levels will be twixt 6,500 and 7,500 feet, so Dove Creek should see snow. Rain and/or snow will prevail into Sunday, and at this point, that's as far as we can go. Perhaps by tomorrow's broadcast, we'll get a peek at Monday morning conditions. In our national weather forecast, the low pressure over the eastern Ohio Valley and central Appalachians will move off the mid-Atlantic coast overnight. Showers and thunderstorms will develop along and ahead of the associated cold front from the central Appalachians and Tennessee Valley to the mid-Atlantic and southeast today, then move off the mid-Atlantic and southeast coast this evening into Wednesday morning. Rain will develop over the lower Great Lakes into parts of the northeast that will move off the northeast coast by Wednesday afternoon. Snow will develop over parts of northern Maine with a few pockets of rain and freezing rain through Wednesday morning. Snow will return to parts of the western northern New England by Wednesday afternoon and evening. An upper low over the southwest will slowly advance eastward toward the southern and central plains by Wednesday evening. Rain and higher elevation snow will develop over parts of the central and southern Rockies and northern and central high plains that will end by Wednesday evening. Showers and thunderstorms over parts of the high southern plains will expand into parts of the central and southern plains by this evening. Overnight, those showers and thunderstorms will move into parts of the middle and lower Mississippi Valley, ending over most of the southern plains by Wednesday evening. Rain will continue moving over parts of the central plains into parts of the middle Missouri Valley into Wednesday. Onshore flow, along with multiple upper level disturbances, will aid in producing rain and higher elevation snow over parts of the Pacific Northwest. Overnight, a plume of moisture will move into the northwest coast that will produce heavier rain and higher elevation snow over the Pacific Northwest. That will expand into parts of the northern Rockies tomorrow. In our 5-day forecast, our high temperatures over the next 5 days are running a tad higher than yesterday's forecast, expecting to hit 60 tomorrow, reach 63 Thursday, drop to the lower 50s Friday and Saturday with the arrival of the next storm. Whether we reach 60 forecast for Sunday is not a worthwhile bet. Windy and gusty for the next 24 hours with sunny skies for Wednesday and Thursday, clouds and rain and snow Thursday evening on through Saturday night is the forecast. And now back to the news.
According to the Cortez Journal, Durangoans Rob Lander and Linda Bonnell have carved out a niche for themselves in the oil and gas industry as researchers and consultants helping companies determine if it is economically viable to drill in sandstone. The two founded their company, Geocosm, about 17 years ago, and they split their time between research funded through a consortium and consulting for specific companies. None of their work involves the San Juan Basin, but they chose to move to Durango 4 years ago from Austin for the quality of life. They have their offices in their garage. About 10% of the workforce in La Plata County is home-based, like Geocosm, according to the La Plata County Economic Alliance. Lander attributes the company's success to Geocosm's consortium because it can focus on long-term research for companies. I think that's why we're surviving, despite the fact that the oil industry is hurting right now, Lander said. The two were inspired to start a consortium after seeing how well it worked for one of their professors. 20 companies fund the consortium's research through annual subscriptions. The research is used to develop software.
CO2 levels last week were at 406.77. Week before that, they were 407.06. 1 year ago, they were at 405.37. And in 2007, they were at 385.28. Last week, we presented a bit of a certain study about sea surface salinity as a predictor of rainfall in a couple of places downwind from the areas measured, and a relationship between rainfall in those land areas and associated with the sea surface salinity does apparently exist. This week we'll share a bit of a study of salinity in deeper waters. This one has to do with a study done by Vivian Menezes and Allison McDonald of the Physical Oceanography Department, Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute in Massachusetts, and Courtney Schatzum with Oceanographic Data Facility of Scripps Institution of Oceanography at the University of California, San Diego. And Arctic bottom water is water that at its formation site in Antarctica is from melting sea ice there and the calving of glacier ice and the melting of those icebergs and calves along with that saltier, unfrozen subsurface water. Some icebergs have reached sizes equal to the state of Rhode Island. Or was that Maryland? Call us if you know. With global warming, there has been, or we have seen, an increase of these, and their melting rate has increased. The thing is, you see that those winds at the polar oceans are severe chill factors and cause rapid freezing of sea surface waters. And salty water resists freezing, so that the ice thus formed in, on, and around the poles is freshwater ice. The unfrozen water is still salty and is one factor in basic sea salinity. Science still pretty young, really, but technology advances have aided all science, and much research has been done in the last couple of decades. Research that's borne a lot of fruit with a huge potential for more. So you have this salty, cold water on the relatively shallow Antarctic sea shelf, and then it slides off into the lower surrounding oceans and those very deep hidden ocean valleys. Seems like I read that the deepest was near 32,000 feet, possibly. Just over it, or is it under it? I mean deeper. So, accepting thermal vents and their influences, which are just coming under scrutiny, the colder and saltier the water, the deeper its path and its direction, and its effect on currents needs study. Why? Well, we call these currents, and they move in all directions, but they have been in the past predictable and very stable. Ask an old sailor, consult naval and maritime records and all that navigation stuff. But it's like pouring a pitcher of ice water into a boiling kettle. It changes the circulation. The nutrient level of the Antarctic waters is relatively rich too. The problem is that as you decrease salinity and the melting that increases, and you're having a net increase in the ocean temperature at the same time, that this fresh, less salty water is lighter. As a result, it gets squeezed and squirted in a different direction. What was once Antarctic bottom water and an abysmal water driving mechanism is changing. Australian and Antarctic basin waters and a thing called the Princess Elizabeth Trough communicate with each other and yet others through this deep current. The study presented new evidence indicating that abyssal waters in the Australian and Antarctic basin water continue to become fresher, warmer, and less dense. The study suggests that a strong decrease in this salinity in that Australian Antarctic basin observed between 2007 and 2016 may be linked to an abrupt iceberg and glacier collision and calving event that occurred in 2010, a 6-year period. And that's a lot of water to season with your salt or whatever. And to make a change of that magnitude is really a challenge to science and you and me, likely.
According to the Cortez Journal, beer aficionados in the Denver area were in for quite the treat Saturday at the 4th annual Collaboration Fest, which featured 181 breweries, including Durango's own Steamworks and Ska Brewing companies, and nearby Telluride Brewing. Brian McEachron, co-founder of Steamworks Brewing Company, which has joined the festival every year since its inception, said this festival gives breweries a chance to showcase the diversity in the world of microbrewing, the unique spirit of the industry, and where it is headed in the future. It's fun because most of those beers are one-offs that you're never going to get to try again, McEachron said. It definitely speaks to where the movement is going towards with the advent of nano-breweries and smaller breweries. I mean, look at what's happening in Denver. There's a lot of new players to the game and their footprints are a lot smaller, he said. But with ever-increasing variety and competition, why collaborate? Because it's in their blood, McEachron said. The event and the brewing leading up to it also represents an opportunity for brewers to share their success, their failures, and learn from one another. The history behind collaboration doesn't hurt either, pointed out Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper, who opened Wynkoop Brewing Company, Colorado's first brew pub in 1988. We created the Lodo Brewers Festival around 1990, Hickenlooper said in an email. The different breweries came together and showcased their various brews. It was a truly friendly and collaborative rivalry. These relationships led to collaborative brews developed between breweries, often for nonprofit organizations, a fine tradition that continues to this day. That tradition was showcased by the 110 unique brews available Saturday, each of which represented a joint effort by at least 2, and in some cases 11 brewing companies with their own fun and funky names.
From the Post-Independent, what are the opportunities for the tiny home movement happening all over Colorado? Garfield County commissioners approved land use and building code changes last week that remove barriers for tiny homes in unincorporated parts of the county. Namely, they ended requirements that single-family, quote, dwelling units be at least 20 feet long by 20 feet wide. Tiny homes are generally considered to be those that are less than 500 square feet, said Dave Pasinick, senior county planner. County staff has been receiving inquiries about tiny homes from people looking to buy land and build a home, but who can't afford the cost of purchasing the land and then the cost of building a large home. Likewise, individuals have been looking to add tiny homes to their properties for aging parents or children who want to move out of the main house. While that's not necessarily a cheaper housing option, it is convenient because the tiny homes can be built off-site and moved onto the property, he said. The requirement that dwelling units be at least 20 by 20 came about in the 1970s, the intention being to prevent single-wide trailers from proliferating, a move to protect property and home values, Pasenic told commissioners. Several tiny home projects are underway in Colorado. Aspen Skiing Company placed 6 such houses in Basalt this winter as a test. Denver has a project for the homeless, and Salida and Walsenburg have supported tiny home developments. Pesnekchak noted that some trends that play into the increasing popularity of tiny homes, a lot of people look at this as being a lifestyle choice, but there are some economics as well. The average home size has been on the rise, growing by about 61% in the last few decades, he said. Now the average home is more than 2,600 square feet. Meanwhile, home ownership has been declining, down to about 63% in 2015, the lowest in 2 decades. The main driver behind that drop is thought to be increasing housing costs. Tiny homes can be built in different ways, on wheels, on chassis, or with a foundation. However, the county's codes are still going to require tiny homes to have a foundation unless they are in an RV park. Even before these changes were made, a developer could propose a tiny homes community via a planned unit development that eliminated the minimum dwelling unit size. Another necessary tweak to the building code was an allowance for a ladder to be used in the tiny homes, as most of them use a loft to maximize the small space. Commissioners adopted updates to the International Code Council's building code, which now allow ladders to be used to reach lofts and emergency exits to be built for the lofts. Prior to that, a staircase was required instead of a ladder, taking up too much room in a tiny home. In a 5-2 decision, the County Planning Commission also recommended striking the minimum dwelling unit size requirement. Carbondale and Rifle responded with interest to the land use and building code changes, said Pesnechik. And Tim Kane, planner for Newcastle, showed up in person to support the changes, adding that he's heard from several individuals interested in the tiny home movement. We are interested in, obviously, like the region, creating affordable, attainable housing, Kane said. This is one vehicle in which you could do that, staff views the tiny homes not so much as an affordable housing solution, but as another tool in the kit, giving people more housing options. In Garfield County, these changes to the land use and building codes will go into effect next month.
And now for the Dolores County Sheriff's Roundup. For the week of March 20th through the 26th, a deputy issued a summons to a man for child abuse. A man was arrested on an outstanding warrant out of Montrose. While on routine patrol, a deputy reported a suspicious vehicle. It was learned it belonged to an employee of the owner. A resident motorist reported an injured deer on Highway 491. Colorado State Patrol was contacted. A town resident reported a lost red and white mixed breed dog. If anyone has found the dog, please contact the sheriff's office so they can notify the owner. A town resident reported suspicious people entering a home believed to be vacant. A deputy investigated and learned that the people were family members visiting the home with permission. Deputies responded to the town water docks after a call concerning individuals playing on the block. A resident requested an officer close a window at their mother's home that was left open. The window was closed. The Dove Creek Volunteer Fire Department responded to a controlled burn in standby capacity. That's it for today's roundup. Stay tuned for continuing updates.
And for today's high country happenings, CDOT has announced that many rural counties in Colorado have a seatbelt use rate below the state average. In an effort to save lives, law enforcement will be making a special effort to ticket drivers for seatbelt violations. The Click It or Ticket Spring Rural Enforcement Period begins today and runs through April 2nd. CDOT also released a post saying, calling all civil engineers. They've got an Engineer in Training 3 opening in the Greeley Engineering Residency. Current enrollment as an engineer intern in Colorado and a year of engineering experience is required. If interested, check out the details and apply online. The link is on our Facebook page. And locally in Dove Creek, Carol Marie Howell, the former chairperson running the Pick and Hoe celebration for the past 6 years, has found a team of 2 local women who will take over the duties as co-chairs for 2017. The repost of Carol Marie's announcement was online on our Facebook page yesterday. Again, they and all of the sub-chairs who deal with each of the moving parts for the 4th of July time event could use volunteer help, so don't be shy. Email them. It's Tabitha Henderson, legend_7@icloud.com, and Chelsea Garcher, chanstead@gmail.com. And all of the happenings are posted up on our DCTV News at Noon Facebook page, along with the embedded YouTube replays, weather and original stories and local posts. To share your event or information, contact us at dcbnnews@gmail.com or call the station 677-4119 and we'll be sure to get your news on air.
Thanks for tuning in. This program airs live at noon Monday through Wednesday, then is rebroadcast at 3 and 6 p.m., and again re-aired Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in the same order at noon, 3, and 6.
We're also featuring a live call-in show on Tuesdays. It's called Talk Tuesdays, aired at 5:30 p.m. each Tuesday evening and then rebroadcast throughout the week at 5:30 p.m. Be sure to check out our Facebook page. It has all the links and details with original stories, the video replays. We ask you to like us there and share the link.
For Kendra Cook, Jerry Tope, and everyone at DCTV with the News at Noon program out of Dove Creek, USA, I'm Kelsey Kiesling. Thanks for watching.